Sarnia. Thanks for watching. This is Into the City and I'm Katie Horvath. I'm here today with Norm Francoeur. He is running for a city council seat in the upcoming Sarnia 2018 municipal election.
City and county council.
Yes, city and county councillor seat.
Yes.
All right. As we were just chatting about earlier, I'm sure people in your circle know all about you, know where you're from, what you do, but for the people that don't know you, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, I'm Sarnia way back. My dad retired from Dow Chemical, and I went to grade school, high school, Lambton College graduate, but I actually worked at the City Hall on a month-to-month contract in the IT department many years ago during the amalgamation from Sarnia and Clearwater amalgamation process. So I worked with the police department at that time and the city and the tax department. And then raising a family, I needed a permanent job, so I ended up moving up to Fort McMurray for about 18 years.
And what were you doing out there?
I was in the IT department, finally at the city of Fort McMurray, so regional municipality Wood Buffalo.
Okay.
I was a member of the union, CUPE out there, and a CUPE trustee, moved my way over into management. I handled multi-million-dollar budgets. I think my last IT operating budget at one time was around $50 million.
Okay.
As the manager of technology advisory services, I handled contracts. I worked with just about every department you can think of that runs a city. To get an idea how people would work out there, I actually went out with meter readers to read water meters to see what exactly their job was, so I can help with the automation of it.
Okay.
So I always try and keep everybody's view when I'm doing things.
It's very well-rounded then.
And yeah, I understand municipal budgets and governance. I've presented to the council out there and moved back home about 7 years ago, because that was always our plan, was to come back here, live near the farmer's market, because I just love those on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Right. Awesome.
Married, 3 kids, 2 grandchildren, and away I go. I'm heavily involved with the Imperial Theatre. Might have seen me on stage, might not. Some people don't recognize me, but...
What have you done recently at the Imperial
The
Theatre?
very last thing I did, actually, I directed Strangers Among Us, which was a show about Alzheimer's.
Wow. Oh, I heard a lot of great things about that show. Good for you.
With the Alzheimer's Society here, and we did a lot of co-benefits between the two of us.
Wow, that's awesome.
My last time on stage was probably as Belle's dad, Maurice, in Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, cool.
With big hair.
Yeah.
So that's why people won't recognize me from that. But,
right, because you're in costume, yeah. Well, that's great. That's great. So when you're not working and doing all those things in the community, what do you like to do in your downtime?
Downtime?
What's that, eh?
That's theater. Actually, next week I'll start building a set for the upcoming show in October, which is Evil Dead the Musical.
Awesome. Very cool. So for this year, why did you decide to make a run in the election?
It's something I've been thinking about for years, and then it just seemed like the right time. It seemed like people were wanting a change, and it was, I want to make a difference. I said, I know how to get along with different personality types. When you're directing a show, you have to take into account everybody's different personalities and backgrounds that they bring to the show, and be able to work with not just the actors, but then you've got set construction, lighting, and all those other different departments to pull together as a director. So.
Right, all the factors that go into that.
Yeah.
Great. So why do you think that yourself personally, and you can come at this from a personal angle, from a political angle, business angle, why do you think that you feel that you would make yourself a good representative for the people of Sarnia?
I have no outside interests, I mean, besides the arts. I will be a very big advocate of the arts, and what we're doing downtown with the theater and the restaurants districts. But I don't have a business I'm trying to protect or promote. I've got no other political aspirations I'm trying to build on for the next platform and moving on. I want to represent the people. I live in Mitten Village, so I want to represent the common people that we have here. And I've got no other agendas cooking.
Yeah, just very community oriented and want to continue going.
And I remember what our city was like. I said, been here all my life, so I remember back Seaway days. My age, yes, I remember when Lockheed Street went all the way through.
Yeah. Great. I just have read about it now.
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay, that's great. So now for this part in our interview, we'll just talk a little bit about your reflections on the current council, so from the 2014 to 2018 term. So just in general, what are your thoughts on how this term has gone?
I know there's been a lot of reporting on a lot of wasted energy and dollars in regards to the current mayor and what was going on. I think there was a little bit of overkill on both sides. I'm not picking sides for the mayor candidates because I'm going to have to work with one of them.
Yeah, that's fair.
But they've also done, there has been some progress. I don't know if it's because of council necessarily or just the workers, the city workers. The bike lanes that we have just put in, I think, is a great step towards making everybody's drive safer,
Mm-hmm.
not just cyclists, but those in cars as well.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to Centennial Park, dragged on a little bit, probably longer than what most people would like, but sometimes that's the nature of city contracts. That's the unfortunate reality of them, having, like I said, been through many contracts.
Right, right. So you understand sometimes things happen. So on that note, you obviously know that it was way over budget, the Centennial Park project.
Yes.
Some things, it's been argued it was just totally beyond their control. Others feel that there just should have been more accountability. So my question to you is, how could you ensure that things are remaining accountable? And if a project starts to go above budget, how would you respond to that as a councillor?
We have to hold our employees responsible for what it is they're doing and how those budgets are going out. Not necessarily the least expensive bid is going to be the best one. Once there was asbestos identified in the soil, we had no choice but to do something. I know some people said, oh, why did we bother? It's just a legal liability thing. Once it's there, you have to deal with it. Once you're aware, you have to do something about it.
Right, right.
Yeah, maybe a few more checks and balances, but and phasing it in.
Bit of a complicated situation there with all the dumping over the years and burying of not so good things.
Dominion Salt was there at one point in time, I think.
Okay.
Back, way before my time.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. In regards to public input, now there's been a big change this year, obviously, in how we're actually going to be able to cast our ballots. That has been criticized for not having quite enough public input. So how do you feel about that issue and the topic of public input in general for these decisions?
I know the city is trying a little bit more for some public input. I was involved a bit so far in the downtown parking, so I would go to a meeting. I'm going to follow the city on Twitter, so if you're going to follow it, you have to start looking electronically. But some people just don't know what's going on down at the city yet. It's a work in progress. And I forgot where I was going with that. The election. Back to the election.
Yeah.
I know we have to move forward in embracing the young. I mean, I'm an IT person, so yeah, going electronically, it seems like a great idea. I will be actually going to one of the sessions they have coming up at Clearwater Arena for voters on Tuesday, I think it is, on the 14th. And then another session they're having at City Hall for candidates. I will reserve judgment until I get all that information on there.
Okay.
And
it's fair approach,
there's a fear-based. Some people just don't like electronics at all. But from the reading I've done last night on it too, with their hiring staff to go out and help people, they're hiring 65 staff.
Okay.
To help during election day with tablets that the city owns, or they'll show you how to use those, or.
And is that you could tell me and the viewers as well, is that going to be during the whole election period, like the 11th to the 22nd, or just on election day, the 22nd?
I believe that's just election day.
Okay, okay.
For the extra help.
Well, good to know. Thanks for letting me know that. So I guess just one more question about the current council reflections. And the reason I'm trying to ask some candidates this is because I know, just my ears always to the ground, I know that there's distrust happening with people in the community directed towards City Hall. And it really varies from person to person which side of that line you're on, which side of City Hall you distrust. But the overarching theme is that some of the trust has been lost over the last few years. So what are some suggestions that you have, if you are elected, to restore some of that trust and build that relationship back between the taxpayers and those at City Hall?
There's going to be a lot less in-camera meetings, for one thing. I believe, like I said, and it's just the recent reaching out that they've been doing, but again, it's just electronically. Mm-hmm. We can't lose track of the fact that we do have an older demographic mm-hmm. here, and don't want to disenfranchise those. So it pains me to say, but sometimes you still have to use the old mail system mm-hmm. with some people. That's just the way they get engaged. Mm-hmm. So, but engage one group electronically, but don't cut off your other accesses to the taxpayers.
Right. Sometimes have to just give the people what they want.
Unfortunately, and it does come at a cost.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So we'll move now just specifically into your campaign, the issues that you are kind of bringing to the table during the election period. So we can start with the most important issues that you feel the city of Sarnia is facing, and we can do your top 3 that you think are most important.
The top one actually just came to light to me just maybe a month ago when we were talking about lead in the pipes for our water supply.
Yeah.
Health and safety has to be number one when we're talking about our citizens. And that's the benefit I have from coming from the city of Fort McMurray. When we had capital projects and operating projects, there were scores based on them that helped council make decisions and help administration make decisions, and that health and safety was rated highly. Let's take care of that to make sure that our citizens are safe.
Right. It's very important.
Yeah, streets. They finally did something about my street, but we had grass growing through it.
Oh.
And they did a better patch job this year, but I'm sure my street isn't the only one. So our infrastructure.
Okay.
And I want to make sure we're concentrating as much on our cultural and artistic involvement as we are on our sports. I know we do. When I was here many years ago in the IT department, I worked on the facility booking program back in the day. So I know we take care of that. I'm not sure if we've kept up with the put some fun back in the city. It just the climate from our neighbors across the river kind of tends to bring everybody down, and we need to start investing wisely. Of course, we've only got so much money, but supporting more our cultural, the downtown. People say the Imperial Theater has done a lot for the culture downtown. What are we going to do with skits when it finally closes? Do we have a plan? I know it's technically not automatically coming to us, but if we don't have a plan of what to do with it, if it does end up coming towards the city,
right,
we can't fix that after the fact.
Right.
So, and sitting on the city and county, the library here is an old building. To me, it's not very aesthetically pleasing. Maybe as the city and county can look at moving the library into the old skits and refurbishing that. Jackson Pool has been closed forever, and I grew up just the other side of Germain Park.
So you must use the pool a lot then.
So all these facilities are there, or when the kinsmen do things and turn stuff over to the city, we just let them deteriorate. You have to be able to fix your house before the money we wasted on the general hospital fighting as to who owns it. It's all taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
So it was sitting there spending $50,000 a year just for security purposes.
Right.
We could have used that money, and we're still paying. We sold it, yes, but we're still paying to have it demolished. The money's still coming from the city. We could have done that, and then figured out which pocket it's coming from, provincial or municipal, because after all, at the end of the day, it's our money that it's coming from.
Okay. So the accountability and responsibility of taxpayer money too.
Taxpayer money as a whole, not just as this is our little pot from the city.
Right, right. Okay, fair enough. So you did mention the roads, grass growing on
Yes.
through your street that you live on. So we have a backlog of over $300 million.
Yes.
Do you have any sort of plan or inclination on how we could balance our debt, but also our infrastructure backlog?
Yeah, we've, I think, passed a lot of opportunities where we're concentrating so much on paying down the debt when interest rates were low that some of that stuff has passed us by, where we could have maybe not worried so much about it decreasing the debt. It's going to cost us more in the long run to keep up our infrastructure, so we do have to balance that a bit better.
So you're on the side of maybe just spending a little bit more to keep the infrastructure up to par. Yeah.
If I don't maintain my house, it's going to fall down. If I don't put a roof on it, and it leaks, the old parking authority building, I don't know if that was their ultimate plan, was to let it just deteriorate where they couldn't live in it anymore and then tear it down, or if it just kind of happened that way. The center over on Lakeshore Road that we're getting rid of because we didn't do any maintenance on it. Of course, it's falling apart. So what are we doing with those things?
Right. So your kind of approach is you got to fix it before it gets so bad that you can't anymore.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Fix it or get rid of it.
One of two. Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So going into kind of another direction here, and I know you're very passionate about the arts and culture, but from a business perspective, what do you think we could do as a city to attract more businesses so that we can keep the people here that we already have?
Yeah, and one of the things is, the impression people get from City Hall, because, it made provincial news from the things that were going on. So a better impression there. I know someone who opened up a business recently, and everything seemed to be going well, and then he wasn't told all the information correctly coming out of the city as far as getting his liquor license, and it took him an extra 6 months to get that through.
Oh, okay.
So it's clear lines when people are looking at opening a business and how easy it is to do things, and how difficult.
Right.
There is a lack of communication, I think, sometimes in our own city departments from one to the next.
Okay, so maybe if we could smooth that out a little bit, it'd be a little easier for people who are starting out and the entrepreneurs.
Yes. Okay.
We have a pretty serious addiction and mental health crisis. It's across the country, but we have a little bit higher rates in Sarnia compared to cities of similar size. Now I know it does depend largely on provincial funding. However, at a local level, do you have any suggestions, any thoughts on what we could be doing as a city to address this crisis?
Some of our derelict buildings are kind of a magnet for some of these things, but with employment will help lift people up out of that area. It's not an answer, and there is no one blanket answer that'll be true for everyone. But just having a cleaner city, people were opposed to like the safe injection sites or the homeless shelter on Mitten Street. the not in my backyard has to stop. We have to start caring for each other. I had no issue with River City being just a few blocks from where I live. We spent so much time fighting that, and to my mind that was even ridiculous. It used to be a YMCA. It's where they used to sleep. So what's the difference there? And that's where that whole YMCA started, was shelters for people.
Right.
So that's technically it's in my backyard, and I've got no problems with it. We have to start caring more about each other. My dad just passed away in March, and we were lucky enough that he had a private room for the last few days. But you know, there are people who can't afford that, who simply die in wards. I know it's a provincial, but what are we doing to help places like the hospice that lets people die with a little bit more dignity? We just have to start caring some more.
I agree. It's a good answer. So we'll move into just kind of your personality. What could we expect from you if you are elected?
Dictatorial.
No way.
Okay, a bit of a sense of humor.
That's good.
Yeah. I'm open to ideas when people are coming up with things. I can't remember the name, or even if it's a real name, because I got it through email. You never know who you're talking to electronically, but I keep things fairly consistent. And you said a good idea might be like paddle boats down by the Centennial Park that the city would run. I said, well, that sounds like a fun idea.
Yeah.
Why aren't we making more of our waterfront? Looking at things, I mean, I drove down the California coast many years ago, and the places with parks with fairs in them. Why aren't we rely too much on organizations to do that for us without actually investing any money ourselves in it, and seeing the payback from those investments?
Right. Okay. So just a very open mind is something that we could expect. It sounds like, yeah. Great. So there are, as you know, many candidates who are running. Record number, I believe.
Yes.
So I've personally not made a decision on in total who I'm voting for. I know a lot of people are having the same struggle as I am, just for sheer number of people to choose from. So plain and simple, why should I vote for you?
Well, because like one of my taglines basically is experience that matters. I've got municipal experience, but not just the city of Sarnia. I've seen outside of this community and what can happen and what we can do. The city of Fort McMurray had a very young demographic. Our average age out there was in the 20s.
Okay.
Here we're in the 50s
right.
for the average age. But the things that we can do as a city to open it up and make people feel welcome. I was at the Muslim rally that we had for the shootings in Montreal, and they're wonderful people all over the city that we do care. There's some people that get a bad rap, but we just have to. And why vote for me? Well, one of the reasons I saw the list evolving of the city councillors, that's why I chose city and county, because there was a shorter list. And I know some people are looking for a change. Some people coming out of retirement that will be 90 before the term ends. Is my mom's 91. I care just as passionately as the next person. I will work with everybody, even if I might disagree with some of the ideas they have. But I can get along with people.
Okay. That's a good quality.
It should be.
So that's it for questions that I have for you, but I would like to give you the opportunity, if you have anything that I may have missed or something that you'd like to add, just your final message to the people of Sarnia.
My final message, vote for me or else you're doomed. No, like I said, I'm a long-time supporter. We have a gem of a city here that's really underestimated and underutilized in a lot of spots. We have to stop just giving away our infrastructure to private businesses to let them run it.
Okay.
And find different ways we can generate money as a city. We do generate money as a city, not just through taxes, but through different user fees. There's different ways to do that through tourism. It's just, I watched a river boat cruise just this afternoon just go right by our city.
So
why isn't there
like
a better place for them to dock here? Yes, we have a dock that they could pull in, but there's really not enough access to it. We're too busy selling off our waterfront.
Right. So kind of take advantage of what we've got.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. So thank you very much for coming in and doing this.
Thank you, Katie.
You're very welcome. So this has been Norm Francoeur again. He is looking for a seat as a city and county councillor. Please share this project. Please share the video. Voting begins online and via telephone October 11th through to October 22nd, Election Day. Thank you for watching. This is Into the City. I'm Katie Horvath.